Good evening and welcome back to Innsbruck. The junior boulders and the youth A boulders have already had their final, but this evening it's time for youth B. That's the youngest age category we have here in Innsbruck. That's climbers born in 2002 or 2003, and they seem to have timed their run to perfection because the rain that's dogged us up until this stage has disappeared. Still thick cloud, it's still cold here in Innsbruck, but it is not raining as it was for the previous two finals. The youth B climbers timed it to perfection. And let's have a look at our starting list. 6 men, 6 women. Daria Fomenova, Nakaya Sanders, Saki Kikuchi, Indiana Chapman, Futaba Ito, and Natsuki Tanai. 3 Japanese women, and as you'll see in just a second, there we are, 3 Japanese men. Thomas Podlan will be first out there, who'll be followed by Joshua Forto, Semen of Chinikov, and then it will be the 3 Japanese climbers of Rei Kawamata, Hiramasa Nishida, and Ryoe Nikui. So the climbers just going through their observation period to get 2 minutes per boulder, as we see in the Senior World Cups. The scoring, the systems, the timing, everything the same as we see in a World Cup. Route setting team, I think, just clarifying a couple of the finer points there for some of the women. And it's a familiar sight in the Senior World Cups. Heavy proportion of Japanese climbers, but they make up 50% of the women's final and 50% of the men's here. Just when you thought the other nations were in with a shot, in this youngest category here in Innsbruck, they've got 6 out of 12 finalists. They really are a production line of top-end climbers, particularly in the bouldering, and increasingly in the lead, it would seem, but bouldering, I think it would be safe to say, remains their strongest discipline. And as you can tell, the weather really picked up here. Those cameras yesterday, you could see rain coming across them, lashing, not quite reaching the boulders, but certainly reaching the mats. But this evening, cold and clear, actually superb conditions for bouldering. Temperatures in the single figures in terms of Celsius. It's just beginning to clear up as well. We can see the mountains appearing. The locals assured us they were there, and they've delivered. They've appeared from the clouds that have been sitting in the Inn Valley for the best part of 5 days. They're beginning to lift, and I'm told that tomorrow we might even enjoy some sunshine. So this is the 4th women's boulder and the 4th men's. Unlike in the previous finals, we've had men on the left, women on the right. A bit more mixed up this time. The climbers will be crisscrossing back and forth across the stage as the final progresses. Unlike in the World Cups, they'll have 4 minutes to attempt each boulder. And that is their 2 minutes of observation up. And they head inside. And we're 4 minutes away from the start. Apologies if you were expecting to see us 25 minutes ago. We had a delay. The speed climbing qualification overran. That meant the speed climbing final was later than expected, and that pushed back the bouldering as well. So the crowd watched the speed climbing, and they made the short journey over here to the bouldering area. And as has been the case all week, mainly due to rain, the window in the cafe at the Kletterzentrum, the huge facility here in Innsbruck that's hosting these World Championships, has proven very popular with the crowd. Plenty of the crowd, as I say, over in the left, watching through the window. It's still very, very cold here, which is great for bouldering conditions, but tough for the crowd. It is down jackets and beanies de rigueur here in Innsbruck. Winter has certainly arrived early in the Tyrol. And this is the last of 3 finals. There is more bouldering action to come, of course, next weekend, starting on Saturday with the Olympic combined format. But this is the last of the, if you like, traditional Youth World Championship finals. And it's the youngest climbers, as I mentioned, born in 2002 or 2003. Quick look across women's 4, women's 2, and men's 2 on the right there. As we've seen all week, the route setting team having to make last minute adjustments. It's one of the real struggles of setting for a youth competition, is that you don't have the same amount of information about the climbers. You can look up the results. You might be able to find some videos online of them, but it's not like setting for a senior World Cup where you see these climbers week in, week out. A lot of these Youth B climbers will be new to the route setters. They won't know anything about them. They've got to correctly gauge the level for climbers who might be slightly shorter than senior climbers, and climbers whose level they don't really know that well. And they get a look at them in the qualifying round, they then get another look at them in the semi-final, and off that tiny amount of information they've got to judge it for the final. So route setting was already the hardest job in climbing. Setting for the Youth World Championships, that step up again. Chief route setter here in Innsbruck's been Jackie Godoff. Might not thank me for saying it, but 60 years old. Jackie is enthusiastic and passionate as ever. We spoke to him earlier in the week. You can see that interview on the IFSC Facebook page. He's got a very strong team with him as well. Killian Fischober, not long retired from competitions, and Jorg Verhoeven, extremely competent all-round climber, still competing in the Boulder World Cups, a part of the team. I also had Artemis and Fatak, two Iranian route setters who've come over to help out. So it's a really strong team. And we've also got Katja Vidmar. Really good to see a female route setter at this level. Katja's set many of the men's boulder problems here this evening. She talked me through them earlier. They've got a very varied set to go at. So Daria Furmanova is out, Thomas Podelan out in the men's, and before he does anything, gives a hold to Brush. Route setters, as I say, we're working up until the last second to get these boulders ready. So they could still be relatively chalky from where the route setters were trying them out. So the women start on a tricky slab, the dual texture Fatak volumes at the start. And it's not a super hard first boulder for the women, but it's tenuous, it's tricky. Getting your feet high enough, extremely difficult. The route setters were hoping for a fast start on the men's side of the draw. We've certainly got one so far. Thomas Podelan of Austria in front of his home crowd. It's quite hard to read this one, easy to miss some of the subtleties. And he's got to go with both hands. Those two small triangular volumes, the right hand one has the marginally better bolt-on hold. Both have a bolt-on hold, but the right one's really the one that's going to do most of the work. Just over 2 minutes left, half the time remaining. Remember, 4 minutes flat here. Thomas Podelan, he got to the bonus hold, you can see it there on the right, got to that on his first attempt, and he's back on again. And he did the first move dynamically. It can be done statically with a cross through and a bit of jimmying around, but he does it dynamically. And he's heading up to the two triangular volumes. As I say, the right one marginally better, and he just about hung the swing. And from there, it's a relatively straightforward top out, and he claims it. Top for Thomas Podelan early on in this final. And I think we might be about to see it. Another top. Daria Furmanova claims the top almost simultaneously. The two climbers getting a top. As I say, the route setters wanted a fast start. Last night in the juniors, there weren't many tops going. Made it for a chess game of a final. Already two tops here in Innsbruck. Attempts could be crucial. So out next, you can see her there on the left, Nakia Sanders of USA. And Josh Forteau. There's a bit of confusion about whether the climbers can start. Well, the timer started and the MC was yelling, "You can start." Now the climbers can start. I don't think that was a serious enough technical incident for anyone to mind too much. But yeah, MC not helping matters too much there, shouting "You can start." Just to confirm that that top from Daria Furmanova was on her third go. She got to the bonus on her first go, and the top from Thomas Podolak was on his second go. Team USA being asked by the MC to throw their support behind Nakia Sanders. They had a fantastic evening last night in the juniors. Claire Burfind taking gold and Maya Madeira taking silver. Nakia Sanders just taking her time. As I said, attempts already, it would seem, could be quite crucial here. If it is going to be a lot of tops in this final, you're going to need to use those tops very effectively. Those attempts, excuse me. Nakia from just south of Los Angeles, in very different conditions than she'll be used to. Freezing cold here in Innsbruck, and Josh Forteau does that move dynamically. As I say, you can go out right and cross through and then come back to that green volume, but dynamically possibly slightly easier, but just that bit more committing, and could burn through a couple of attempts if you're not careful. Katja Vidmar, you can see her there with the headband bottom left of your shot. One of the route setting team here in Innsbruck, and as I said earlier, really good to have top level female route setters. We sometimes get questions about female route setters on social media. It's been great to have one in Innsbruck, and she did a superb job on the Youth A final that she set for, the one that Ashima Shireshi won. A repeat this evening would be great. So Nakia Sanders pulls back on. Josh Forteau is still on the mat, studying the boulder. I'll let you know if and when he leaves the ground for his next attempt. Minute left for these climbers. So Nakia Sanders heading for that dual texture volume that you can just see at the top of the shot. And again, just peeling off, trying to work the feet up. Daria Furmanova topped this one on the third attempt. Nakia's used more than that, but she'll use another. Josh Forteau gets a big cheer from the large French contingent here. He's heading up for those two volumes. Dual texture, black and white, tiny holds. And he is on the top, so that's the top for him. He used up more attempts to get them. And Thomas Podolak, we'll just confirm how many exactly. That was 8th attempt to get the bonus. And it was the 8th attempt where he got the top. Nicely done, shoulder stability required on that move out right. Had just about enough. So Saki Kikuchi of Russia is out. Semyon Ovchinnikov of Russia out onto men's one. not rushing here. As I mentioned, the route setters would like a fast start, but the climbers won't be forced to rush.
Everyone here, we can give some support for both of them. Come on now.
Cement, one aborted attempt at the boulder, and again returns to the mat to think it through. And again, not getting on with that move. He was 15th last year in Guangzhou in the Youth World Championships. That was in lead. Appearing here in boulder. Also does some speed climbing. 9th earlier on this year in a European Youth Cup in the speed climbing in Bologna in Italy. Quite the all-rounder. Makes the final here in Innsbruck. Just struggling with that dynamic move. It's coordination as much as power. He's back on, he's got the jump this time. Saki Kikuchi also on the wall. 4th place for her in Singapore in the Asian Youth Championships. When you think of the calibre of climber there are, that's pretty impressive, and that's pretty impressive. Top of men's one. So it's early days, but already you suspect the top of men's one going to be vital here. All 3 climbers who we've seen so far have succeeded on it. That's how you do the jump. Left hand lands a split second before the right. Saki Kikuchi, who, as I said, 4th place in Singapore in the Asian Youth Championships back in July, is now back on the wall. She actually had some hard luck last year in Guangzhou, missed out on a place in the final in this Youth B boulder by just 1 place. She was 7th. She'll already, regardless of what happens, knows she'll beat that here in 2017. She's got a minute left. This boulder topped by Daria Firmanova earlier on. And again, it's just tenuous. Even the start, it's absolutely vertical, this panel. It looks like a slab just compared to what else is around it. Very steep wall here in Innsbruck, but it is vertical. The volumes obviously push your feet out a bit and turn it into something of a slab, but only just. It's pretty much a wall problem, not a slab problem. MC imploring the crowd to throw the support behind her. Saki Kikuchi gets a dual texture volume, 15 seconds to go. Can't rush. There's still tenuous move these, 10 seconds to go. Heading up for that dual texture Fatak hold at the top, and is unsuccessful.
And we continue with our next starter. From Canada,
Indiana Chapman representing Canada out onto the stage. Rei Kawamata out as well of Japan. Initially went to the wrong boulder. And you can see, a bit like we saw last night in the juniors, temperature low here in Innsbruck. Indiana Chapman coming out in a team hoodie. Now bins it, gets straight on with it. Only 20 seconds gone and she is underway. And she's not messing about here, Indiana Chapman. Cracking start for her. More than 3 minutes of her attempts left. This is attempt number 1. She's heading up again for that Fatak dual volume, dual texture hold, excuse me. Now she has it. And you would imagine from here she will bring it home, and that will be a flash if she does so. Not an easy move out left, but if you've done what came before it, you shouldn't struggle with that, and she doesn't. Perfect start to this final for her. So flash from Indiana Chapman. That's a replay of Ray. He's back on the mats now. There he is.
2 minutes, 30 seconds. One top to get. And Ray Kawamata on the ground. And a huge crowd to give support.
Don't forget, as always, you can get in touch with us on social media. Let us know what you think. We always like predictions. Feel free to make your predictions. Hashtag IFSC YWCH Youth World Championships. We'll follow Ray for now. Makes that jump work. Cross through. And top. So 4 out of 4 tops in the men's competition. It's all about the attempts at this stage in the men's. Thomas Podlan leading the way. Got that on his second go. Ray, just to confirm, got it on his third. And then in the women's competition, Indiana Chapman takes the lead. 1 top, and that was a flash. Climber talk for doing it on your first attempt. Daria Furmanova also topped it on her 3rd go. Futaba Ito and Natsuki Tani still to come. Well, the DJ here in Innsbruck does seem to be slightly getting cabin fever from being in his DJ booth for far too many hours in the past few days. We've now got some strange drumming music going on. It matters not for the climbers. Futaba Ito on the left there. Underway in the women's competition. Hidemasa Nishida in the men's. Remember, of course, the climbers going in reverse order like we see in the World Cups. If you top the semi-final round, you climb 6th in the final, and that means that these 2 climbers were 2nd in the semi-final. Hidemasa Nishida, he got 4 tops in that semi-final.
We're here to see spectacular.
2 minutes 40 left for these 2 climbers. Seen 2 tops on the women's first boulder, and every man so far has topped on the men's first boulder. So Hidemasa chalking up. He'll head out right now. Secures the bonus. Up to that awkward jump. Meanwhile, Futaba Ito inching away left, doesn't want to drop it at this stage. Nice control top. We're back with Hidemasa. Kindly waited for us. And tries to cross through with the left hand and makes it work. As I mentioned, that's the better of the 2 holds. Nice method from him and a nice top. Have another look at that. No problem with the jump.
Our last 2 climbers of boulder number 1, the leaders after the semi-final.
So there you can see it, clean sweep from the men. Thomas Podlan leading the way though due to the number of attempts required. Ryaway and Kui, there he is on the right. He's out onto the mats. 4 minutes starts again for the climbers. Natsuki Tanui also out and underway on women's 1. Good start from Ryaway. Not wasting any time. Not successful that time though. I'm just keeping an eye on him out the corner of my eye. Got to the bonus hold, but no further. Natsuki meanwhile. Women's 1. Just moving cautiously, not being made to rush. Time not an issue at this stage. It's just one of those boulders where you only realise you've made a mistake with your body position when you're on your way back down to the mat. Hard to read it, but she's doing a good job here, and I think she could be heading for the 4th top of this boulder. It's quite a long reach for that top hold, and you're not on great feet, and that's what can happen. She doesn't need to rush. 2 minutes 15. She knows she can do it. Interesting feature actually of talking to the route setters was that they were saying that youth climbers often don't stop and pause and think about their previous attempt quite so much as senior climbers. They just jump straight back on. Are we about to see another top of men's 1? Yes, we are. So 6 out of 6 male climbers topping number 1. All about the attempts at this stage, particularly in the men's competition. Natsuki back up to that dual texture hold just before the top. She's been here before. She's had a good left hand on that top hold. She needs to get that again and get the right to join it. At the limit of her reach, and cleverly just pushes her knee against the previous hold. Gets to top. So with a minute to spare, both climbers back in. Let's have a look at the results. You can see there 4 tops in the women's competition, but Indiana Chapman in control at this stage. Awful long way to go, 3 boulders left. There in the men's competition, 6 tops from 6 athletes. So Thomas Podlan is back out. Daria Fomanova is back out. Good start from both climbers. The boulders look similar. That men's 2, quite tricky to read. Women's 2, physical. Small holds on poor volumes. And the last move, just to give you a heads up on that women's 2, we won't see it on this time. No pushover, a bit like we saw on women's 1. Being in the vicinity of the top hold still leaves you with a lot of work. So Thomas Podlan, he pulls back on. He's in the lead of this competition coming into this boulder. It's him in control right now. There's quite a few different methods on this boulder. And whereas we had a fast start on men's 1, and to an extent on women's one. Things might slow down considerably now. These bowlers both a big step up from what preceded them. Both physical. Both got a couple of different solutions. Thomas Podolak just dabs the start to make sure he's got a legal start. Relatively secure looking heel hook. Can't figure out what to do with the right foot right now though. Now he found a crimp. The root setters using the top volume to close off much of the lower one. Minute 30 left for these climbers. Daria lining up for another go. Daria pushing out left, the MC of the venue, getting right behind her. No joy that time. Thomas Podolak is underway on men's one. There he is. He's back to that closed off crimp. You can see him lining up for that pinch undercut. And he makes it work. The hard bit now is keeping your weight over to the right so that you can get something off it. You can see it again. It's not a bad hold providing you're pulling over to the right. And he couldn't quite figure out how to get his feet where he wanted them. Daria Furman over meanwhile, making good progress, women's two. It's getting a bit frustrated, a bit fed up, and doesn't fancy another go. Looks quite upset with that one, Thomas Podolak. Not over the moon either. Psychologically tricky. These are young climbers, as I said, born in 2002 or 2003, and they've got to find a way, even with their friends and family and a big crowd here in Innsbruck watching them, of somehow clearing their mind after they have a bad boulder and getting on with the next one. Josh Forto is out again. Nakai Sanders is out. Josh Forto wasting no time at all. And a slightly different method there on number two. Kai Sanders being forced to work so hard. It's hard to overstate how steep this section of wall is. It doesn't quite capture it from that angle. But right where Nakaya's hips are now, the angle changes and it gets even steeper than the lower section. He's got 3 minutes to go. You can see the top hold. He's heading up for that tiny crimp. There it is. It's so physical, this section. You've got to keep your feet on. If those feet peel off, it pulls your body away from the wall and you have a little or no chance of staying on. That's pretty close to the method the route setters envisaged. So both climbers back on the mats. So Josh Forto is back on. Heading out right. So we had plenty of tops on the first boulders. Nothing like the same success so far on boulders two. Nakai Sanders lines it up again. And she's got these lower moves fairly sorted. They're still hard, they're still tenuous. She seems to have figured out how she wants to do them. Now you can see that tiny crimp above her. Right hand, there's another one for the left on the other side of the volume at the top. And then from there, it's the top. There's the hold. There's the top. She needs to match, so this is not done yet. Now it is. Big cheer from the crowd. There's a strong American contingent here, and they enjoyed that. Top for her, boulder 2. She didn't get the first one. She gets the second one. So 25 seconds left for Josh. Tries what looked a fairly optimistic method there. No. Had enough of that. So top for Nakia Sanders, nothing for Josh Foto. There you can see it, that top on her second attempt puts Nakia Sanders into second place. Thomas Podland still leading the way. No joy on men's 2 as yet for any of the climbers. So Semen Ovchinnikov is out. Saki Kikuchi back out onto the mats. Saki Kikuchi wasting no time here, getting on with women's 2. Of course, the climbers did have their observation period. We started our live stream just as that was coming to an end. They get 2 minutes to look at each of the boulders. Three Japanese men and 3 Japanese women in this evening's final. Saki Kikuchi looks like she's got herself in a bit of a tangle here. Needs to swap hands, now she does it. And she'll go out with the right hand onto a tiny crimp on there, on that triangular volume, and then you just got a glimpse then of the one she's going for with the left hand. Can she become second woman to top this boulder? This certainly looks very hopeful at this stage. But as I said, that top hole is not great. You've got to find a way of getting something out of your feet so that you can match. Is she going to try the knee bar? She got quite creative on boulder number 1, and she gets number 2 done as well. So Semen still out on the stage. Men's 2 causing all sorts of bother at this stage. He's out to that tiny crimp. That would be a great hole if the route setters hadn't chosen to close it off. And nobody yet making a whole lot of progress on this one. To bring you up to date with the scores, nobody in the women's competition has 2 tops, and obviously nobody in the men's competition has 2 tops because no one's really made a significant dent in this men's 2. But Saki Kikuchi has a top, Indiana Chapman has a top, Nakia Sanders has a top, that's Suki Tani has a top, for Tuba Ito also has a top, and Daria Fomanova also has a top. All 6 women with a top in the bag. For Saki Kikuchi and Nakia Sanders, it was on boulder 2. For the other 4 climbers, it was on boulder 1. So with a minute to go, still no significant progress being made on men's 2. Semen having to fight so hard. Now he goes up with the right hand. Route setters will be watching this, I'd imagine, slightly nervously, wondering if they've just slightly overdone this one, but we've seen it look as if that's happening here in Innsbruck already this week, and then they were proved absolutely correct. But 3 climbers in, and this boulder causing problems. So try again, 15 seconds to go. Realistically, this is probably an attempt on the bonus rather than on the top. Can he claim the bonus? He'd be the first man to do so. He can. He won't have time to top the boulder, but it won't stop him trying unless he just throws himself from here. No, that was an awful long way, but at least gets a bonus on the board and moves him up to 4th place. So let's see what Indiana Chapman can do with this one. Perfect start to the semi-final here for her. She flashed boulder 1. Rei Kawamata back out onto the mats. So this men's 2 looked as if it might have been slightly overcooked, but then Semen had a really good final attempt, got the bonus. Had he had a little more time, he might have got the top as well, because the easier section is marginally easier from what we've seen. So Indiana Chapman won't make it 2 flashes on 2 boulders, but wow, 2 tops would put her in a very, very strong position. Both climbers back down right now. Both back on the wall. Crowd getting behind Indiana Chapman as she makes her way out to the left. Tries to cross through. It's such a powerful way of doing that move. This boulder, of course, already been topped. It was Nakaya Sanders who got it. Two minutes, half their time remaining for these climbers. Indiana Chapman back on for another go. Will she try a different method to try and avoid that cross through? She does. She goes to the left hand and it works this time. Currently sitting in 2nd place in this Youth B final here in Innsbruck. And she's just got her hands the wrong way around. She needs her right hand there. And she's figured that out as well. Of course, a lot easier said than done. So we saw this before. You've got to try and match the one that she's got her right hand on. Now she's doing it. And then you can lead with the right hand. She's reading this really well, this upper section. Doesn't seem to like the crimp. It's as if she's trying to find a slightly different method. Every move she makes getting a huge cheer from the crowd. And you can see just tiring there. Went up with the left. Just took her a bit too long to read the sequence, but now she knows it. I suspect she's got one more very good attempt left in her.
At least one more really good go. Team Canada, Team Japan, Innsbruck, get ready!
So Rei Kawamata pulls back on. Indiana Chapman pulls back on. Almost a false start from her. Sets up to go again. Now that she's sussed the most efficient way to do these moves, can she make them work? Nicely done. Goes straight into the right hand. Saves herself a bit of energy, a bit of time, and a couple of movements. time becoming an issue now. She's got 10 seconds. She has just about got time. Doesn't need to rush. More haste, less speed required, and she's out of time. I think if she'd had a little longer to rest, she might have got that one done. As it is, she makes her way in without any joy. So you can see it there. Indiana Chapman, that bonus does give her the lead. And Ray, nothing on men's 2. So, all Japan on the stage now. Futaba Ito and Hidemasa Nishida. We'll be back over onto the left-hand side of the stage here in Innsbruck for the next boulders. But in the meantime, Ryohei Nakui still to come in the men's competition. Natsuki Tani still to come in the women's. And she looks like she's reading this absolutely to perfection. Futaba Ito seems to have this one absolutely sussed at this stage. She topped number 1. She can become the first woman with 2 tops here. Left hand lands, goes up with the right, locks the shoulder to hold it. Now just needs to find a way to match. Does it, and takes control of this competition here. And looks pretty happy with that one. So she flashed, that was her first go. She takes a comfortable lead here in Innsbruck, displaces Indiana Chapman at the top of the standings. Hidemasa Nishida still eyeing up men's 2. Don't forget IFSC YWCH for Youth World Championship if you'd like to get in touch this evening. This is our final boulder final, not counting the Olympic format bouldering that we'll have for you next weekend. We've had Youth A, we've had the juniors, now the turn of the Youth B. And specifically, this man right there, Hidemasa Nishida. Got the first boulder on his second go. That was equally good performance to anyone in the field. No successful top on this men's 2 so far. 3 successful tops on women's 2. Futaba Ito flashed it, is already back inside. If you're wondering why I've only got 1 climber left on the stage, if you're just joining us. Now this does look promising. Looks very promising indeed. Are we about to see our first top of men's 2? Hidemasa Nishida, the middle of 3 Japanese climbers on this boulder. Oh, and that's where he needs to get to. Is he going to try again? I think he's going back to the judge for his scorecard. He is. It's quite a time-consuming boulder. Would have been optimistic to have another go, and he quite sensibly, I think, saves his energy. And you can see there a small conga making its way through the crowd in Innsbruck. Ryohei Nakui out onto men's 2, the last climber to try his luck on it. And Natsuki Tani out onto women's 2. So, no men with 2 tops at this stage. Hidemasa Nishida leading the way in their competition. But but it's tight. Futaba Ito, excuse me, has a clean lead in the women's, the only climber with 2 tops. Natsuki Tani could join her in the 2 top club here on women's 2. And she's not messing about, not wasting any time here. And again, figures out that you just need to cross through with that right hand. Easier said than done though, in such a hard position to hold. You've got to simultaneously push off the feet, pull off the hand and move to the left. I think she's, was trying to switch hands there. And as the route setter said we would, we've seen all sorts of different methods here on men's 2. So she's back on for another go. 2:20 left on the clock. Due to attempts, even if she tops her, she'll only move to second. She can't take the lead at this stage off Futaba Ito. But she can join her with 2 tops. It's looking promising so far. Looking very hopeful indeed. It's looking successful. 1 minute 50 left. She's topped and she's on her way back into the isolation zone. Can we see a top of men's 2? Right away. Looking good at this stage. We've seen climbers up here already though. From here to the top, still an awful lot of moves. He's fighting and he's heading up for 2 small triangular volumes. There they are. He's just trying to get himself in the optimum position and slipping off. The route setters were discussing what to do with those 2 triangular volumes, triangular holds, trying to figure out how to use them. Whether to stick a bolt on top, maybe. With the benefit of hindsight, it might have helped the climbers, but 50 seconds still to go for us to see a top here.
He was really close, and he still has 30 seconds. Now, give him some support,
He goes again, 20 seconds to go now. So we won't see a top on men's 2. But we will see 4 on women's 2. So first chance to have a look at our third boulders. There's the scores as they stand. Hidemasa Nishida leading the way. He got both bonuses and he also got number 1 in quick order. And in the women's competition, Futaba Ito and Natsuki Tani leading the way. Indiana Chapman close behind in 3rd place. Tight in both finals. Thomas Podlan, he's out onto the mats. Relatively simple boulder, but physical, this men's 3. Women's 3. Coordination jumps. Might see a couple of methods, but it's a 1, 2, 3 move, and then you've got to stop the swing. Daria Furmanova, the first to attempt it. Yeah, men's 3. The route setters have used these covers. You can see that there's round purple volumes and white volumes. The white ones have essentially no texture. They're all but useless. They add to the aesthetics of the boulder, but the key point of them is that they force the climbers to be accurate in how they place their hands and their feet. And they also close off what might be the best section of the hole. So it's forcing climbers to use a specific bit of the purple volumes, also preventing them from using potentially heel hooks or toe hooks where they might like to, forcing them to do compression moves. You've got to be very precise. As I say, it's not a especially complicated boulder. You can probably read the moves on a basic level yourselves, even sitting at home. But as you see, the white low friction volumes being used to force the climbers into making certain moves. And women's 3, here it is. It's a jump, and Daria not getting on with it at this stage. She wasn't happy after number 2.
So 1,5 Minuten sind noch auf der Uhr. Und jetzt lassen wir sie nicht verzweifeln, diese 2. Die lassen wir nicht alleine in Innsbruck. Come on now!
So let's see Daria line it up again. She's getting closer. That swing is becoming smaller each time. Thomas, meanwhile, yeah, he's just struggling with that first move. Throws his hands up in frustration.
So, Innsbruck, wir klatschen weiter! Komm schon!
Thomas, he'll have another go with 45 seconds left on the clock. Really getting frustrated. He's not made much of a dent in it. And Daria the same. Currently in second, Thomas. Daria, meanwhile, in 6th. She got the first boulder on her 3rd attempt. Everyone in the women's competition has a top, and again she walks off looking none too impressed.
Und einmal gibt es noch für Thomas.
Thomas, this is realistically only an attempt on the bonus hold, and he won't get that. Gives that one up. Heads back in, just needs to collect his scorecard. There he goes. So, more than halfway through this Youth B final here in Innsbruck. It's beginning to take shape.
Joshua Puto and
Kaya Sanders and Joshua Forteau are out again. Onto the mats, number 3 for them. Both climbers just spending an extra couple of seconds on the mat. Double checking the beta that they acquired during the observation period. Nikai having a look at the jump. And it's the same moves again that we saw stopping Daria and Thomas earlier on. Kaya Sanders looks like she's close on that one. Three minutes left for these climbers. Time as it stands, not an issue, but we haven't seen how time consuming the upper moves are on these boulders. Neither of them should be especially time consuming. We might have a good look here. It's Joshua Forteau powering his way through. As I said, it's all about compression, this boulder. He just needs to slow the pace down slightly. Don't be too jerky in your movements. So he's had a hand on the top, but he hasn't claimed a top. Needs both in control. But yeah, you can see how fired up he is. But as I say, he looked to me slightly jerky in his movements. Just need to slow it down a bit. Keep that aggression. But just try and get the timing back. Nice and smooth in your movements. So both climbers back on the mats as half their time is elapsed. As the MC said, we want tops and we want them now. Josh Forto was in 6th place. What a top would do for him here now. He's been in this position before. Eyeing up the top hold. The right hand lands. But again, he's moving very quickly. I think there's definitely scope still for a little slower, more composed attempt. But that one was definitely looked better from what we saw of it. Nakia Sanders, meanwhile, getting frustrated with this jump move on women's 3. And that's the method, just stick the left foot out and dab it, just to kill a bit of the swing. Well, we're out the gates quickly here in Innsbruck in this Youth B final with lots of tops early on. Now we're slowing down slightly, a bit like last night's junior final. And again, Joshua Forto, will he try from a slightly different body position? He will. Trying to get that right foot higher, and again, as he's got his right hand on the top hold, he's getting frustrated here. Certainly no lack of energy and effort from him. It's just that precision for the final move. Nakia, no joy as yet with the jump. Wonders if she might find a different way of doing it. So yet to see a top on either women's or men's 3. Semen of Chinikov out, not Joshua Forto, just ignore them. Saki Kikuchi also out. There we go. Saki not taking long to look at the boulder, getting stuck straight in. Semen, on the other hand, taking a couple of seconds to compose himself. Saki Kikuchi, no success on the jump, but Semen looking strong on this compression-based men's 3. Looks like quite a good hold at the top of this boulder. I can assure you it's not, as we saw from Josh Forto. Semen looking very strong at this stage. The right hand lands and the left hand joins it, and he claims the top. Let's see what that does to the scores. It puts him in the lead. That was a flash. He becomes the first man with 2 tops. So Saki Kikuchi finds herself alone on the stage. And this jump so far eluding the 3 climbers we've seen attempting it. And again, no joy. More than half the time remaining. So still the jump proving elusive. I have to say, when you're down on the mats, as I was not so long ago, it does look an awfully long way, and it's proving that way as well. So we can see she's getting her left hand to land okay. It's just trying to find a way to get the right to join it. It's an alternative view. You can see how far it is. Absolutely the limit of her span. Good shot there. This time the right hand joins it as well. And that is promising. The crowd knew it as well. We heard a little groan from the crowd out of sympathy for her plight. She is close. She's getting closer every time. In fact, she'll be burning through the attempts, but if she can claim the top, it won't matter too much because this is proven to be such a hard boulder. You'd take the top even if it burns through a few attempts. She really is using a lot of attempts. 25 seconds to go if she wants to turn all these attempts into a top. "15 seconds to go," opts against it. Look at the results. So, Semyon Ovchinnikov leading the way for Russia, but he can be caught in this round. Any of those climbers below him who haven't yet attempted this boulder. Meanwhile, Futaba Ito and Natsuki Tani currently leading the way in the women's competition. Indiana Chapman, there she is, and Rei Kawamata, both onto the mats. Ray working hard on men's 3, and that's what the route setters put the white low friction volumes there for. Indiana Chapman, she flashed boulder 1 and she got the bonus on number 2, but no top. Looking at the jump and not managing to stop the swing as it stands. Rei Kawamata is looking at the top. He's holding the top with his right hand. He's holding the top with both hands. Judge's arm goes up, top in the bag, heads back inside. That moved him up to 2nd place. Rei Kawamata. 2 tops for him. Nobody with 3 so far because none of the men could do boulder 2. So even at the end of this boulder, there won't be anyone with 3 tops then either. Tough boulder, men's 2. Meanwhile, women's 3. Indiana Chapman. As I say, it's an awful long way, that jump, and it's not a fantastic hole that they're going for. We saw Saki Kikuchi using lots of attempts. And as I said while we were watching that, I think that we're going to see so few tops of this boulder, if any, that you might as well just use up a load of attempts trying it. It doesn't matter if you don't top it, and if you do top it, it's so valuable, you probably don't mind how many attempts you've used to get there. Just looking slightly nonplussed here. 1 minute 15 to go. Pulls straight back on for another go. Not wasting any time. Certainly no complaints about the conditions here in Innsbruck. It's absolutely freezing. Good for bouldering. Not so good for the crowd. Not many people without a beanie and a down jacket on. Very cold temperatures will increase friction for the climbers. And as I say, they are good climbing conditions right now. So she'll have another go. Looks as if she could just do with 10 seconds to recompose and rethink, but she goes again. So she's getting both hands consistently onto that hold. And now she might just take a bit of time. 15 seconds to go for her. Lines it up, jumps, and nothing that time again. Grabs a towel, jumper and short bag, and heads off.
So, the next two starters, both from Japan.
So Hidemasa Nishida and Futaba Ito out onto the mats here in Innsbruck. Well, just as men's 2 seems to be a real stopper boulder, so women's 3 is proving for them. Hidemasa has a quick look at the start holds, but chooses not to make an attempt immediately. And that was close. Futaba Ito, I think, can certainly stick that swing.
So, let's go. Just remember how to use your hands. So, wir klatschen wieder mal ein bisschen. Alle.
So Hidemasa Nishida heading for the top. Oh, he was so close there. He had one hand on it. And that would almost certainly have given him the lead. I haven't been watching him throughout, but I'm pretty sure he hadn't used that many attempts. It might have been his first, possibly his second. Either way, he would have been in the lead had he got it. Both climbers look as if they can do these moves, and they've got plenty of time in which to deliver on that promise. 2.5 minutes to be precise. Now the jump is done. Now the bonus is claimed. Eases off slightly from here, but they're still not easy moves. For Futaba Ito, though, looking like she could really take control here. This would be her with 3 tops. It is her with 3 tops. Turns, fist pumps, and heads back in with 2 minutes left. That very first attempt on the jump move up and left, she looked like she could do it, and she has delivered. Let's have another look. Left hand, right hand joins it, and the left hand follows through, followed by the right. Real coordination required. It's a long way, but that is exactly how you do it. So it's getting tight in the women's competition here. Hidemasa Nishida. Can he make it 2 tops? He can. So you can see it there for Futaba Ito. 3 tops from her. Women's 3 causing all sorts of problems for the 4 climbers before her, but she claims the top. Hidemasa Nishida, there we see it, the attempts. He hadn't used many at all. I suspected that was the case, and he takes the lead. First place for Japan in both the men's and women's competition as it stands. Ryo Nakui, we just saw him back onto the mats. Natsuki Tani also out in front of the Innsbruck crowd, and the temperature continuing to drop here in Innsbruck. Yesterday, I was wearing my Sorrel winter boots, didn't bring them today, and I have to say, slightly regretting my decision. It is freezing. Conditions only getting better for bouldering though, and that's what matters. Natsuki Tani can also take the lead here, but needs to be careful of attempts. Climbers have just over 2.5 minutes left. Ryaway Nakui, here he is, looking for a top. Men's 3, it's already been topped 3 times. And it will be topped a 4th time. Nicely done. Just checks with the judges. Mature climbing from him. Doesn't want to make the mistake of the judges not being convinced he was in control at the top. So let's catch you up on the scores for Taba Ito. Now guaranteed at least 2nd place. She's got 3 tops. Natsuki Tani has 2 tops, but nobody else has more than 1, so she's guaranteed at least 2nd. Christophe Bion, our technical delegate here, just explaining something. I'm not sure she's quite understood. Let's see what's happening here. So, just being told that there was an issue with the official timer. Our on-screen timer seems to be working just fine, thank you very much, but the official one, there was a problem with it. Never ceases to surprise me how many problems there do seem to be with the timers at various venues. And she's ushered off the stage. I'm sure this won't be a big delay, it can't be a very complicated one to fix. In the meantime, let's have a look at the results for you. So, Hidemasa Nishida currently leading the way. It's very tight in that men's competition. 4 men there with 2 tops each, and they all came on the 1st and 3rd boulders. Thomas Podlan and Josh Forto, top number 1, but no joy since then. For Taba Ito, guaranteed at least 2nd place here. Could be a gold medal depending on what Natsuki Tani can do. Indiana Chapman, Saki Kikuchi, Nakaya Sanders and Daria Fomanova, the rest of that top 6 for the women. I'm just keeping an eye on the timer and it's now ticking again. I think what the officials will probably do is wait until the time is where it was when we were interrupted, which I believe was around 1 minute 40. Certainly the last time I looked at it a couple of seconds before, it was around 1 minute 40, 1:45, something like that. 2 minutes 17, I'm being told. I was sure it was slightly less than that, but that's what the officials have decided. Bit of an interesting one. I remember saying that the climbers had 2.5 minutes left and there was time for a top on men's 3 by Ryaway. So I'm not sure how she could how she had 2 minutes 17 left, but ours is not to wonder why. She will have 2 minutes 17 to carry on climbing. And she'll be alone on the stage. Here she is, back underway. Actually ended up with more like 2:10, but hey. So her time's back on. She's now got 1:44 left. Depending on attempt, she's already used too many attempts, but she can certainly solidify 2nd place and guarantee that she'll win at least a silver medal if she can top this boulder. As I say, if Natsuki Tani does top this boulder, she's already used a lot of attempts. She'll stay where she is now in second, but she will guarantee that she can't finish any lower than second. There is the timer. 1 minute 10 left. And you can see how cold it is. One of our volunteers there just shivering. In the men's competition, it's very tight. 4 climbers with 2 tops, currently split on attempts. Semen Ovchinnikov and Ray Kawamata split by the fact that Seman has more bonuses, more bonus holds. He's got all 3 of them. Ray missed out the bonus on boulder 2. So she lines it up again, really burning through the attempts, but given the fact that this boulder's only been topped once, the top will be so useful, and it will guarantee second place for Natsuki, that she won't be thinking too much about attempts. It's all about the top here. So every boulder apart from men's 2 has been topped. And with 13 seconds to go, I don't think this one's going to see another top. Will she try just for the bonus? No, she won't. Time is up. Thomas Padlon is out onto the mats. Daria Fomanova is out onto the mats. This is boulder 4. We're at the business end of this final. Daria. She could move up. Well, she's just used up an attempt actually, but she couldn't move up to second, but she could move up to third here. Top would put it into third place. Thomas Podlon, meanwhile, could move up as high, could actually take the lead here depending on attempts. We'll see. It's very tight in this men's final, and the women's, I might add. So, like the women had on number 3, the men have on number 4. It's a dynamic move, coordination move as well. And you can see on the bonus hold, there's a small bolt-on hold that he's going for. So it's right and left landing at the same time. Like a slightly simpler movement, the way we just saw Thomas trying it, but it makes the jump further than using that intermediate hold. Will he just dab it as he goes through, or once again will he try? Looks like he's going to go direct. Right hand lands, and so does the left. We could be about to see a top here, and it would put Thomas Podlan in an extremely good position. Depending on attempts, he might take the lead here. He rocks over, trying to get that left hand underneath him. He's got the intermediate bonus, intermediate hold on the way to get to the top. He's at the bonus. He's fighting so hard, pushing that right knee into the wall. He drops down again to rethink his position. You can see the top hold waiting for him, that volcano. He's got plenty of time remaining. Won't be getting too tired in this position, but as soon as he starts to move and lever on with that left arm, get that left elbow underneath him somehow and begin to push up on that left hand, that's when the fatigue will begin to kick in. As it stands here, he's okay. Now he begins to rock over. Heading up for that small crimp in the middle of an otherwise blank wall, and he just drops off. The right foot gave way underneath him. So he's back on, and now he's got the jump absolutely dialed, but it's just as the feet swung back in, he dropped it there. So, Daria came onto this boulder sitting in 6th place and will leave in 6th place. Doesn't want another look at that one. Not happy at all. And Thomas Podlan stuck the jump initially. Now struggling to reach his high point again. Throws his hands up in frustration, tearing his hair out with that one. You can see night falling here in Innsbruck. The temperature continues to plummet. Hoodies are now being covered by down jackets and heads being covered by beanies. It really is very, very cold here. Snow on the mountains behind the venue. You can just see underneath the timer, that's a snowy mountain in the back of our shot. It has got freezing over the past couple of days. Conditions getting better and better and better for these climbers, provided they can stay warm though. Of course, they've got an area to climb and move in between their boulders, so they shouldn't have any trouble staying warm. But temperatures, as I say, very low. You can see the crowd here, and the window in the cafe once again proving extremely popular, as it has done all week. It was because of the rain, now it's because of the temperature. So Nakaya Sanders is on the mats. Joshua Forto is out as well. Josh Forto currently in 6th. No matter what he does, he can't get any higher than 4th. Nakaya Sanders, meanwhile, could move up into 2nd here. No tops on either of these boulders for the first climbers out. Josh Forto, he of the man bun, just trying to get that jump out to the right. Nakaya Sanders may or may not be aware of the standings and what this could mean. This big screen is just over to the right. The climbers will have a reasonable view of it. This time Josh Forto sticks the jump. He reaches out with the right foot. He is having to work so hard all of a sudden. Can he find a way of rocking over and pushing down on that right hand, the left hand, excuse me. Yes, he's got the right hand. He's eyeing up the top. That volcano is where he's heading for, and he is there. 2 minutes left on the clock, and he claims the top. Didn't match for long. I'm assuming the judges have awarded him the top, though. They have. Let's have another look at how he did the jump. Both hands landing at pretty much exactly the same time. So we confirm how many attempts that took. 3. That moves him up to 5th. And Nakaya Sanders, we haven't had actually that much of a look at women's 4 just yet. We'll have a good look now. She's alone on the stage, and there is the scoreboard over to the right. Certainly burned through too many attempts to make it up to 2nd now, but she could potentially make it onto the podium positions as it stands. And then all she can do is watch. She's having to work hard at the end of a tough couple of days for the climbers. This is a brutally physical women's boulder. And that method looked good. 30 seconds to go. You saw her there just looking at the scoreboard. So back in position, and I think time is up on Nakaya Sanders here in Innsbruck. Certainly is. She looks like she enjoyed herself as well as she might. What an experience climbing in front of an Innsbruck crowd. A knowledgeable bunch. The Climbers City, they call this place. So Nakaya Sanders will finish in 5th. Daria Fomenova will finish in 6th. Let's have a look at the results. There we can see them. The only 2 climbers to have attempted this boulder, but no top and no bonus. In the men's competition, top from Josh Forteau, but unfortunately too little too late. It leaves him in 5th. Thomas Podland will finish in 6th. Semen of Chinikov and Saki Kikuchi onto the mats. So, Saki Kikuchi, 1 top for her so far, a number 2, and that was a flash. If she flashes this one, she's into 2nd as it stands. And she's looking pretty solid at this stage. Semen, meanwhile, is still on the ground on men's 4. Just to let you know, Semen, that was him just flying across the screen, attempted the jump. Saki Kikuchi, this will move her, as I say, into 2nd place. And then all she can do is sit and watch and see. She can't win here. She can take 2nd. Futaba Ito out on her own with 3 tops. Saki Kikuchi up until now had just 1. Can she make it 2? She's looked totally solid up until here on this women's boulder 4. Finds the 2nd to last hole. She works her right hand up it. So comfortable she can even pause, take the left hand off completely. And just needs to find a way of moving over to the right. But of course the further right she moves, the less useful that hole becomes. That's the left hand. And that's a top from Semen. We'll bring you up to date in just a second. Hopefully we can get a replay of that. Let's keep an eye on Saki Kikuchi. Oh, unlucky. 2 minutes to go though, and she looked like she was cruising up until there. And that puts Semen Ovchinnikov in the lead. Try and get a replay for you of that top from Semen that has put him in the lead of this competition. He can be caught up there though. We'll talk more about scores in just a second. So that was him nailing the jump. This is a replay, by the way. The clock is the live time. The action is a replay. And then from there, he was straight onto the volcano. Job done. So we thought we were interrupting an attempt there. We're not. Let's see the rest of that replay. As I say, the clock is live, the action is not. This is a replay, but with the live clock, the current time on. Semen, once he got the left foot up, never looked in doubt, and there it is. So he's in the lead. He can be caught by no less than 3 climbers though. Might not even end up on the podium. And Saki Kikuchi, she's moved up thanks to getting that bonus into 3rd place. But she'll be kicking herself for dropping it on that last move. It is tenuous and it is overhanging that section of wall. Doesn't quite look it often from some of the camera angles, but it is. And she will leave without the top. Such a shame for her, but she's in 3rd place.
And we continue. So, again, big applause for our next 2 starters.
So you see it there, Semen Ovchinnikov leading the way. 3 tops for him. It's a clean lead. Anybody wants to beat him, they will have to top, and the 3 Japanese climbers still to come out could all catch him. Sticks the jump. First time. Indiana Chapman's out. On to number 4. This man there, Ray Kawamata, is also out. He can take the lead here, Ray Kawamata, and this looks hopeful indeed. Ray Kawamata, the left foot comes up. He's in a relatively comfortable position. He's in the top position. Ray Kawamata will be in the lead now. He displaces Semenov Chinnikov. Just waiting for that score to come through. And that was a flash, and he leads the way. He can now only be caught by Hidemasa Nishida. Ryuhei Nakui will not be able to win here. Let's have another look. This was the jump, got it first time and went just to that volume. We've seen that far left volume. We've seen climbers go to the other two. He skipped them out and then just moved calmly over to them. Really nicely done, completely different method. So Indiana Chapman on her own on the mats now. Currently in 4th place. Depending on the number of attempts she's used, as we see a replay of Ray, depending on the number of attempts she's used, she could move up to 2nd. I'm pretty sure though that she's already used too many attempts and that this is to move her up into 3rd. As I say, we've been watching Ray and then the replay of Ray, but it's almost certainly a top here would move Indiana Chapman up to 3rd. Big cheer from the crowd as she lands that left hand. Back on the mats. It's such a tough boulder, this. We saw Saki Kikuchi coming quite close on it. Again, the left hand lands. And again, she's off from that same move. She got off to a cracking start here this evening, Indiana Chapman, flashing the first boulder. She was in the lead. She's got 15 seconds left, and that move suddenly looks that bit tougher. Fatigue just kicking in. And she will finish in 4th place. Excellent evening's work for her. And there we see, as it stands, Hidemasa Nishida can win here, but Ryuhei Nakui cannot. Too many attempts already for him, but it is looking tense. Here is Hidemasa Nishida. Futaba Ito in the women's competition. She's currently leading here. A top hit, regardless of the number of attempts, will win her the competition. As I say, she's already in the lead. She may not need to top it at all, but if she does, it rubber stamps her victory. Hidemasa Nishida and Futaba Ito on the mats. So, Futaba Ito, she's aiming for the top. She's aiming for the win here in Innsbruck. Youth B world champion. Potentially a couple more moves. The right hand goes up. That's the second to last hold. Will she cross straight through? Futaba Ito matches on the top hole. She will be the Youth B World Champion, and I think she knows it. Emotion on her face as she topped out there. And the DJ's had his dodgy moments this evening, but he gets it absolutely spot on this time. This girl is on fire. That is 4 tops for her, 2 of them flashes. She came onto the boulder in the lead. She leaves the boulder as the Youth B World Champion. So let's look at now at Hidemasa Nishida. Attempts crucial in this men's final. But a top from him, depending on the number of attempts, could also win him the gold medal. We could have our final climbers out with the gold medals already decided. Hidemasa Nishida currently sitting in 3rd place and just struggling with that jump. He'll have used too many attempts now. I'm certain of that. The win will be gone. That will mean Rei Kawamata is the champion here, but we will stick with Hidemasa Nishida, see what he can do on this boulder. He's not yet assured of a podium place. He came out with the possibility to win. As I say, it's been so tight. It's been a great final, Youth B. Had a cracking one, albeit of very different nature. Last night in the juniors, we've had another excellent one here in Youth B. "50 seconds left for him. Now he sticks the jump. Hidemasa composes himself, probably thinking that he doesn't believe he can get back to this stage again if he ends up back on the mats. Needs to bring it home from here. Just cut loose. You can see it's so much effort through the hips and the glutes, keeping that right foot on. Trying to get that right hand without first levering onto the left, and now he'll begin to lever onto the left. Suspect it might have been easier to do it first, but he might just make it work. He's got 5 seconds to go. Could be timed out here. The top hole's beckoning. He needs to move quickly. And he got one hand onto the top before time was up. Let's check whether he's been awarded it. Stand by. That was awfully close. So that was him on the jump. That was him topping out. Let's just see when this replay calms down. There it is. So a different method again on the jump. We've seen numerous different ways of doing that. The key will have been the time. Well, it's showing up as it stands that he was not awarded the top. He definitely had one hand on the top as the time ran out. And I'm still seeing it as him not having been given the top. So we know our champions here. We don't necessarily know our podiums. Ryo A. Nakui, excuse me, could move up to 2nd here with a top. A flash will get him into 2nd. A top of any description will get him into 3rd. Meanwhile, women's competition. Natsuki Tani. She can't win here. And she is already guaranteed 2nd. So this one, just for pride, if you like. And she's making pretty light work of the lower moves. Already guaranteed silver medal. The final 3 decided here in the women's competition. How she'd love to finish with the top. It would make it 3 tops out of 4 boulders. The left hand lands and the right hand joins it. 2nd place for her. Looks pretty happy with that finish. to her final. So the end is nigh in this Youth B bouldering final, and what a final it's been here in Innsbruck. Crowd enjoyed it. They're braving the freezing temperatures still. 2 minutes 30 left on the clock. Just to confirm, Hidemasa Nishida was not given the top, timed out. And then a different way again of doing the jump, the 1, 2, 3 method. Ryaway Nakui. He successfully tops out and heads back down to the mats. So this final, excellent final here in Innsbruck comes to an end. Every boulder topped apart from men's 2. All 4 women's boulders topped by Futaba Ito. She was absolutely dominant tonight. And there you see it, it is a Japanese gold, silver and bronze. Futaba Ito takes the gold, Natsuki Tani takes the silver, and Saki Kikuchi takes the bronze. Iniana Chapman, Nakaya Sanders and Daria Furmanova, the rest of that top 6. So Futaba Ito wins the men's competition. Rei Kawamata wins the men's. Japan take 5 of the 6 medals. Semen of Chinnikov takes silver. Ryaway Nakui takes the bronze medal. Hidemasa Nishida just timed out on that last boulder. He takes 4th. Josh Forto is 5th. And Thomas Podolan is 6th. So that's all from the commentary box this evening, but do stay with us. We will be live streaming the podium ceremony from this Youth B Boulder final and this evening's earlier action, the Youth A Speed Finals. We'll see you tomorrow for more speed climbing action. Thank you very much for watching.
My name is Anna Stör. I'm from Innsbruck, Austria. I am 28 years old and I'm a climber.
How low were you willing to go before you reach all your selfish goals? Punchline after punchline, leaving us sore, leaving us sore.
For me, it was very natural to start climbing. I grew up in Innsbruck, and as you know, it is surrounded by mountains. So my parents are both climbers, and they always took me and my sister on the rocks. So we got introduced at a very young age. And at 8 years old, I joined the kids climbing group. It was coached by Rupi Messner and Reini Scherer, who are both my coaches today. And yeah, it just started to evolve. At the age of 14, I was able to join the Austrian youth climbing team, and I went to the European Youth Cups, and I always enjoyed it. It was only lead comps because at the time there were no Bouldering Youth Cups, and somehow it just all evolved. And yeah, I don't even remember how and why, but I always liked it a lot and I tried to give my best. I enjoy competing for different reasons. I mean, for one, I think the World Cup circuit has a very strong community, and I've always liked to be surrounded by people who share the same passion, and I think that is a huge advantage. But also, obviously, it's also easier to like the competitions if you're good at them. And I've always had very good seasons, and it just has never come to my mind, or yeah, it hasn't come to my mind to stop because I actually like it a lot. And the Austrian team, I mean, we were traveling around with a group of friends, really. There was Kilian was on the team, Sappi Bacher, Babsi Bacher, Heiko was always there, and we're a big group of friends. So it has always been a pleasure to travel around with them and to see different places, and obviously to then also compete well. For me, outdoor climbing.
The medals will be presented by IFSC Vice President Mr. Lee, accompanied by Dr. Eigenbocha, President of the Austrian climbing team, and Christoph Kaufmann, Vice Mayor of the City of Innsbruck. The bronze medalist, representing Russia, Polina Aksenova. Silver medalist, representing China, Yi Ling Zhang. gold medalist. And 2017 Innsbruck IFSC Youth World Champion of Speed in the Youth A female category. Representing Poland, Alexandra Kaluszka. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Poland. Please welcome the medalist on the speed Youth A male category. The bronze medalist, representing China, Yinxin Li. Silver medalist, representing Russia, Georgy Morozov. the gold medalist, and 2017 Innsbruck IFSC Youth World Champion of Speed in the male Youth A category. Representing Russia, Sergei Ruki. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Russia. Big applause for the podium. So please welcome the medalists for the Bouldering Youth B Female category. The bronze medalist, representing Japan, Saki Kikuchi. The silver medalist, representing Japan, Natsuki Tani. The gold medalist, and 2017 Innsbruck IFSC Youth world champion of bouldering youth B female. Representing Japan, Futaba Ito. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Japan. Give a big applause for your podium. Last but not least, please welcome the medalist for the Bouldering Youth B Male. Representing Japan, Ryuei Nukui. Silver medalist, representing Russia, Semen Kiliko. 17, Innsbruck, IFSC Youth World Champion of Bouldering Youth B Male. Representing Japan, Rei Kawabata. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Japan. Big applause for our podium.